genesis of the story was just the fact that my brother and I started talking about Mark McGwire using Andro, and that was something that was coming up in the media. And my brother Smelly said, Andro? Guy's full of shit. He's on the juice. I go, what? And he's like, oh, he's totally on the juice. Look at him. Look at the size of him. And I'm like, you really think he's on steroids, a baseball player? And he's like, oh, absolutely. And he's like, Jose Canseco was doing it and blah, blah. And I go, do you know for sure Jose Canseco was doing it? He goes, I'm pretty sure he was doing it. And so it got into this thing where my younger brother was telling me, hey, all these guys are on steroids. And I'm going, wait a second, but no one's ever come out and talked about it. Why didn't they ever come out and talk about it? And then all of a sudden, Jose Canseco writes a book. And we actually had the idea to make the movie, and then Jose Canseco came out with a book, and congressional hearings came up, and all sorts of things happened. So it was kind of funny that it all kind of started coming together. I guess, they say right place at the right time. And it all started falling together at the right time. The beginning of the archival footage, kind of figuring out what kind of story to tell, was basically just a lot of it came from me and my personal childhood memories. And I would say, I remember Hulk Hogan would rip off his shirt, and they go, well, where do we even find that footage? I'm like, I have 100 tapes of Hulk Hogan, let me get them. And I would call my friends that had footage, kind of compile all the footage, and then we'd say, okay, well, let's see if we can license this through WWE. When we couldn't, we'd have to fair usage. We have the right to use it as long as it falls in certain guidelines. So there were certain things that just came from my personal archive, and a lot of the stuff, a lot of the news clips and everything, we go out to all the archive houses and say, give me anything you have on steroids. And we had a team of great interns that would go through and watch the footage and, pick things out. And I would just sit in the office one day and go, did you guys ever see the Roid Rage Ben Affleck thing? And they're like, no way, come on. And everybody just got on YouTube and everything and started searching. YouTube was it's the greatest tool in the world. The Iron Sheik getting arrested news clip was on YouTube, and then we were able to track down somebody who actually had the tape, because it's just impossible to find these things. So a lot of the resources were like that. And then as far as clearance issue goes, we obviously spent a lot of money clearing all the clips that we could clear, and then a lot of the other ones were fair use through Michael Donaldson, who is probably the best fair use attorney out there. He kind of writes all the cases for you and figures out how you can use all the footage properly. It's really weird interviewing your family. It's just bizarre. I don't know. You don't even think of your family as normal people. You're like, what do you have to say that's interesting? That's kind of the way I felt about it. And it was really, my producers, Alex Bono and Tamsin Rawati, that were there every day and there for every single shoot that we did, were really, first of all, great with my parents. They became really close with my parents, and they call them on the phone all the time and stuff. And I think that was the key, was just having an outside source to basically channel me in and say, basically, hey, Chris, this is what you need to ask them, this is what we need to hit, and this is what we need to get out of them. Just make sure you're getting this stuff out of them. Because for being so close and inside of the family, it's hard to figure out what's even interesting about your family to the outside world, and also what specifically to ask. Michael Moore was a definite influence on the style of filmmaking. We also wanted to try to tell the film in a narrative, 3-act structure as well. There was other films, I'd say Capturing the Freedmans was a great exercise in just letting people speak on either side of an issue. The other films, I would say, Super Size Me, Morgan Spurlock style. Absolutely. I mean, there was a point in the film where we were going to shoot a time lapse of somebody on steroids. We just realized it's just such a huge undertaking. It's its own project, basically. And so we just didn't end up doing that. And we didn't really find the right person either, because it's got to be somebody willing to do it. You can't supply them with anything. Obviously, you can't really support it. You just have to document it. And so it's kind of hard to find somebody that has the money, the time, and the patience to actually do that, because you'd have to shoot them every day and stuff like that. So kind of abandoned that idea. But I did think about it for sure. According to law, you can't get in trouble for anything you say in a documentary. But it could also spark an investigation. If you said, I killed somebody in a documentary, you can't use that to indict you, but they can certainly go and investigate you, right? So I think there definitely are legal risks in the ramifications of they could go looking for him after the film comes out and say, hey, maybe has steroids, or maybe there's some steroid dealing going on or in his area or something going on. And of course I could go and investigate that. So it's definitely a risk that you take, but my brother felt it was a really important film to make. My younger brother is probably, to me, the most interesting person in the film, only because he has this win-at-all-costs attitude and yeah, I do steroids and full blast, but I'm a football coach. And what would you tell your kids to do steroids? He's like, no way, absolutely not. The steroids are not for kids. And then well, do you tell them that you're on it? And he's like, well, no, not really, because I think that if they know, they wouldn't understand it, and they would turn it into something else and whatever. And in the meantime, these kids are like, I had these kids coming up to me almost in tears going like, thank God for your brother. If it wasn't for your brother, I would never come to school, because the only way we're allowed to practice or lift is if we go to class. And if we don't go to class, we don't, whatever, because the head coach won't let us lift with Coach Bell if we don't go to school. And so like these kids are like in school, and it's like not a very nice town he lives in. It's like he lives on the good side of town, and the school's kind of on the bad side of town, and it's really kind of crappy there. And they don't have any positive, male role models. Most of them don't have fathers living with them and stuff. And so he became kind of like the father figure to all these kids, and he's training them and teaching them all these great values of like discipline and strength and courage and charisma and all these things. Yet he's on steroids. So you go like it's such a conflict. It kind of bothered me to say like to my brother, like, hey, why don't you just get off the steroids? And then he's like, well, why should I? Because I'm competing in powerlifting. It's what I do. It doesn't have anything to do with what I do with the kids. It's a completely different thing. And then he's like, why don't you go interview the rest of the teachers at this school who are like in their 20s or early 30s and ask them how many of them smoke pot? And he goes, it's probably like 80, 90%. And I'm like, really? And he's like, oh yeah, absolutely. And he's like, now should they go tell all their kids that they're smoking pot and they're bad teachers and they're, and I'm like, you know what? He brings up kind of a good point in a way that like, it's just so interesting how we view certain drugs in our culture. That was like the weirdest moment of the whole movie when we were sitting in my dad's office and my dad had all this pent up anger towards my brother. There was so much going on, and my dad kept trying to help him and said, what are you doing? Why are you taking these drugs? Why are you doing it? And it wasn't steroids really, it was all these other drugs that he got into. And it's kind of a result of him not feeling like he's good enough, like he didn't make it in wrestling and he needs to do all these drugs. And so my dad started telling me all this stuff, and I was sitting in his office going like, oh my God, I can't believe he's telling me all this right now on camera. Like, because my dad's never even talked to me like that before. My dad was like, okay, you want to hear how I feel about your brother Mike? Let me tell you how I feel. And he just started going nuts, And so I would have never had that conversation with my dad had it not been for this movie. And I didn't see a lot of it coming. And I think that a lot of that, though, coming out and being on film and having my brother see it and have my brother hear my dad say, I think they're going to find him dead someday. My brother's like, wow, like maybe I need to straighten my act. And, after the film was done, my brother went to rehab, and he's not perfect now, but he's doing a lot better. He's definitely like coming along a lot better than he was. So hopefully, he can straighten himself out totally. I kind of made a deal with my whole family, and I said, if we're going to do this, you guys can tell me at any time to stop asking questions. You can tell me at any time to basically edit something out if you don't like it. So I got to a point where my parents said, you know what, just go make the film that you want to make, and then show it to us. And we did that. We waited all the way till the final cut of the movie, and they were dying to see it, and they finally saw it. I think my mom's first reaction was like, wow, I never knew your younger brother. Like, I wasn't for sure that he was really on steroids or not, but to hear all that was really tough. But she, in the end, really enjoyed it. She thought that it was very fair, and she just thinks that if her sons do something that she doesn't agree with, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad forever. They can take it and turn it into something positive. So she feels that we took our experience and turned it into something positive that can help other people learn about a subject matter, make a decision about it.